Many builders think they need more leads, but often that's not the case at all. There could be good opportunity with the inquiries they already have, because the difference between a builder who's constantly chasing work and one who's consistently winning projects often comes down to what happens after that inquiry comes through. In this video, I'll walk you through 3 ways builders can improve their sales process and convert more inquiries into projects. I'm Helena, co-founder of the Arrow Agency. Over the years, I've worked with builders of all stages of growth, from businesses relying heavily on referrals through to builders looking to become the recognized name in their market. And one pattern I've noticed time and time again is the builders who consistently win more projects aren't always getting more leads. They're often just doing better with the inquiries they already have. One of the biggest mistakes I see builders make is assuming every inquiry is worth chasing. The reality is, not every inquiry is a good inquiry. Some people are just collecting prices, some aren't ready to build, some don't have the budget, and some simply aren't a good fit for the type of work you want to do. The problem is that most builders don't find this out until after they've already invested their time. They've had the meeting, visited the site, prepared the quote, followed up multiple times, only to realize the project was never going to be a good fit in the first place. And I understand why it happens. Most builders are taught to think that more inquiries automatically means more work. So when an inquiry comes through, the natural reaction is to chase it. Do whatever is needed to try and win the project. But after years of working with builders, one thing has become super clear. The builders winning the best projects aren't talking to everyone. They're talking to the right people. Think about your own week. Between site visits, client meetings, quoting, project management, and putting out fires, there's only so much time available. Every time you spend half a day chasing the wrong inquiry, something else misses out. Maybe it's a good client waiting for a callback. Maybe it's a proposal that should have gone out sooner. Maybe it's time you could have spent working on the business instead of chasing work that was never going to happen. This is where many builders get stuck. They feel busy, but they're not necessarily moving things forward. They're spending hours having conversations, preparing quotes, driving to meetings, yet very little of it is turning into projects they actually want. Eventually, that becomes frustrating and builders start saying things like this: the market is tough, everyone just wants the cheapest price, no one values quality anymore. And sometimes it's true, but often what's really happening is that they're spending too much time on the inquiries that were never right for their business. The builders who consistently win better projects tend to know exactly what a good lead looks like. They know what type of work they want, what budget range they work within, what areas they service, what type of client they work best with. Because once you're clear on those things, everything else becomes easier. You ask better questions. You identify good fit clients faster. You stop wasting time on projects that aren't right for you, and you spend more time building relationships with people who genuinely want what you offer. One thing I've noticed is that many builders think growth comes from saying yes to more opportunities, but often growth comes from saying no to the wrong ones. Because every hour you spend chasing the wrong lead is an hour you can't spend working on the right one, and that's where the shift starts. Your follow-up process creates confidence. This is probably one of the most overlooked parts of the sales process. Most builders spend a lot of time trying to win the project. Very few spend time thinking about the experience before the project starts. Think about it from a client's perspective. They've submitted an inquiry, they're potentially about to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even millions. And for most homeowners, that isn't a small decision. It's one of the biggest financial commitments that they're ever going to make. And they're not just choosing a builder, they're choosing someone they trust, someone they believe can deliver the project, someone they feel comfortable working with for the next several months. And that means they're paying attention to much more than your portfolio or your pricing. They're paying attention to how you make them feel. Do you respond when you say you will? Do you communicate clearly? Do you seem organized? Do you explain things in a way they can understand? Do you make the process feel simple? Because every interaction is helping the client answer one important question: can I trust this builder with my project? And this is where I think many builders underestimate the impact of follow-up. A lot of builders assume they lose projects because of price. And sometimes that's true, but often another builder simply created more confidence. Maybe they replied faster. Maybe they explained the process more clearly. Maybe they answered questions better. Did they follow up when everyone else forgot, or they simply made the client feel more comfortable. When someone is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, confidence matters. People don't always choose the cheapest option. They often choose the option that feels the safest, the option that feels most organized, and the option that feels the least risky. The builders who consistently convert more inquiries understand this. That's why they respond quickly, communicate clearly, explain the process, set expectations early, and stay consistent throughout the whole sales journey. Because they're not just trying to win the project, they're trying to reduce uncertainty. And when you reduce uncertainty, you build confidence. And confidence is one of the most powerful sales tools a builder has. Because unlike interest rates, market conditions, or what your competitors are doing, confidence is something you can control. So now let's understand where builders are losing opportunities, because this is where it becomes really interesting. Most builders know how many inquiries they received. Far few know what happens after that. How many inquiries are becoming meetings? How many meetings are becoming quotes? How many quotes are becoming signed contracts? Because once you know these numbers, you start seeing where the real problem is. And what I find is that many builders immediately assume they need more inquiries, more marketing, more leads, more visibility, but often that's not the problem at all. The problem is what happens after the inquiry comes in. Think about your last 10 inquiries. How many became meetings? How many became quotes? How many moved into the process stage or signed contract? If you don't know the answer to that, it's probably the first thing you should be measuring, because different numbers point to different problems. Maybe plenty of inquiries are coming in, but very few are becoming meetings. Maybe you're having lots of meetings, but hardly anyone is asking for a quote. Or maybe you're sending lots of quotes, but very few are turning into projects. Every one of these situations points to a different issue, and each one needs a different solution. This is where I think many builders get stuck. They assume the answer is always more leads. But what if the real problem isn't the number of inquiries? What if you're already getting enough inquiries, but you're losing people somewhere along the way? And that's why understanding your numbers is so important, because once you find the bottleneck, you know exactly where to focus. You might discover your inquiry process needs work. You might realize your follow-up isn't consistent enough. You might find you're attracting the wrong type of client, or you might discover you're simply not asking the right questions early enough. The point is, you stop guessing and you start making decisions based on what's actually happening inside the business. Because growth doesn't usually come from fixing everything. More often it comes from identifying the one thing that's holding everything else back. And when you improve that one thing, the results can be significant. That's why the builders who grow most confidently aren't always the builders generating the most inquiries. They're the builders who understand exactly where jobs are being won and lost. Because once you understand the process, you can improve it. And once you can improve it, you can scale it. Most builders think that growth comes from getting more leads, but the builders who grow consistently understand exactly where opportunities are being won and lost. Because once you know where the bottleneck is, you can stop guessing and start making decisions. You may have more opportunities in your business than you realize. And if you're looking for a team that understands the building industry and can help you attract better inquiries, improve your sales process, and build a more predictable pipeline, that's exactly what we do at Arrow. We work exclusively with residential builders and help them create systems for sustainable growth. And that's one thing we'll be talking about a lot on this channel, not just through marketing, but through better positioning, stronger sales processes, and a clearer understanding of what actually drives results. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video.